Hi, and welcome to Just Pause. Now would be a great time to pause the video and go grab a couple of ice cubes that you can actually put in your mouth, right? We're not going to do it straight away, but put them in a glass, something that you can hold, and come on back and resume our practice. So, welcome to our Just Pause. And yes, I'm going to do something a little bit different today because I don't know, this was a part of my morning practice and I've been doing it for a couple of days now, and I'm just so inspired by what it has helped me to notice, right? So the idea here is, yes, a sensory experience with the ice, but more importantly, using it as a way to understand the 8-limbed path of practice we call yoga. So, as you are ready, put your ice in a glass that is within reach. Find a comfortable sit with whatever support you need. And for this practice, I do need you to be upright because I don't want you choking on your ice, right? So an upright, and just find that sense of a steady breath. So in our tradition of yoga, we have 8 limbs. These are the 8 sequential, but not necessarily exclusively linear practices that Patanjali organized as the disciplines of yoga. And they're linear in the sense that the emphasis is to start at the beginning as we move towards samadhi, the culmination. The beginning is the yamas and the niyamas. These are our ethical principles. So as we land in this moment, the first reality is that we have to accept the current circumstances of our practice. Now, Deepak Chopra translates the yama as our social intelligence, our ability to know how to be in relationship with others. And he then also defines the niyamas as our emotional intelligence, meaning how do we take care of our inner being? I really like these reframings. So just check in and notice, what is your social energy today? And what is your emotional energy today? What is it that you need? Because so many of us don't take the time, let alone the practice capacity, the practice skill of checking in. And that's where yoga really brings us its benefits. Yamas and niyamas, those are where they're at. By coming to the asana, the shape, we carve out a space. Just pause. Everything that's beyond this is really just the unfolding, the allowing. We find a posture that is sustainable. Then we welcome in an attentiveness to the breath, the pranayama. Now, prana, energy, can come in and out of our body through every single orifice. The most tangible is that of the breath. So notice what you notice with the breath as you welcome in the outside in. The breath awareness might ask you to shift your asana, and that's okay. That's that initial unfolding to find the sustainability. So maybe that is a quick movement or a simple check-in or a touch, right? Feel your body. Because as we go deeper in these 8 limbs, we're going deeper into the Koshik layers toward the Atman center. Why? Because the Atman is Brahman. The Atman within us is the oneness that we seek through the 8 limbs. So from the asana to the pranayama, to the pratyahara. What does that mean? Well, in our modern neuropsychology and neurobiology, we call that the interoception. The idea of knowing the state of my being. What do I need? What do I feel? So notice, first, perhaps by using your senses for the outside world. Hold your glass of ice. Feel its temperature, its shape, its texture. You might hear it rattling, sloshing if it's already starting to melt a little bit. You might see if there's a smell, probably more the glass than it is the ice. Right? Can you feel the temperature as it comes close to your nose? Changing the temperature of the air as it comes in and out through your nose? What else do you notice? Now, as we bring this outside thing in, take your time, right? The idea is to cultivate patience and perseverance through this practice of sensory awareness. In other words, when I invite you to bring this ice into your mouth, it might not be pleasant. Can you be with that sensation? Can you get comfortable, or at least more comfortable with being uncomfortable? Now, you can always put it back in the glass, right? Spit it out. Or you might find that you move it around in your mouth to kind of offset where it might be feeling burnt or overloaded. So, when you are ready, take a sip of the water, if there's water. Notice its temperature, its texture, its taste. Every cell in your body is going to receive the benefits of that water. Now, Ayurvedically speaking, the sister science of yoga, we don't advocate drinking ice water because it makes it too hard on your body to digest, to absorb. It has to warm it up, meaning energy is used to warm it up. But for our purposes, we were looking for a strong sensation to really wake up our ability to pay attention. Now, once you've done that, go ahead and take an ice cube. Now, I can't talk with an ice in my mouth, so you're going to get me talking some, putting the ice back in, and then talking some, right? So when you're ready, bring the ice into your mouth. Feel its shape, its texture, its shape. I already said that. Temperature. Notice if it's landing vertically or horizontally, if you can tell the shape of the ice cube and its orientation. And what is it like? What is it like to have this implement in your mouth? Maybe you feel a need to swallow. Maybe it's starting to burn in that sense of strong. Right? What's your response from a preference level? Do you like it? Do you not like it? It's probably strong enough, though, of an unfamiliar or at least a not normal temperature, texture, and shape to keep you in this moment. But as soon as your brain decides that this is not threatening, your mind might wander. So then it becomes the discipline, the choice of paying attention. This is where we cultivate perseverance and connect it to the idea of getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. Anytime you need a break to back off of that sensory overload, move it in your mouth or put it back in your glass. Let yourself back off the edge of intensity. And then when you're ready, when you've recalibrated, when you've found that calm, abiding space again, to test your edge, you can bring the ice back in once again. And this is how we build our capacity, whether it's with ice or whether it's with our in-laws. We monitor how much exposure We build a support system, and then we regulate with compassion to build the muscles of patience and perseverance. So I'm going to give you some time and quiet to notice your progression from the focus of pratyahara to perhaps the dharana, the focus of being in this moment, to dhyana, that effortless flow state of being with, and perhaps, maybe, a touch of samadhi. You might find that there are some areas, not just of your mouth, but of your life that are more tender, more sensitive. Case in point, putting the ice under my tongue was almost intolerable. For others, you might be tempted to just crunch the ice. And what is that metaphor for the rest of our life? When an obstacle gets in the way, do you beat the shit out of it? Or do you wait for it to melt away? It's not to say that one strategy is more right than the other. Rather, the practice of yoga is skillfully designed to help us navigate the creativity and the curiosity to address what is, to do the least harm, ahimsa, to ourselves, to others, perhaps even to the ice itself. But if we get too attached to the ice, we won't have the water. Form in its different shapes. Water, condensation on the edge of your glass, ice, steam. So I invite you to consider where there might be an obstacle in your world right now. Whether it's a physical obstacle, an energetic, mental, emotional, or a spiritual obstacle. How can our experience with strong sensation remind us and train us to choose wisely between patience and perseverance to navigate this path? If the ice is still in your mouth, please remove it and notice what you notice. Notice how it feels to release the ice. Notice how the temperature of your mouth starts to move towards its natural warmth. You might feel some lingering moisture that you swallow. And as we pay attention to the body once again, coming out of that spiritual level perhaps, and expanding into this room, this environment, this context, in order to transition back to our day. So as we progress into that 8-limb path, it's often wise to then come back out. As far as you go, come back out so that you're not in that state of vulnerability, of too far open or too far in, so that we can keep ourselves safe in the real world. So thank you so much for playing with me. Let your hands come to rest together. May you breathe deeply, move freely, labor lovingly, and live vibrantly. Namaste.
Thank you for this.
You're very welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for playing. Any comments, thoughts, questions?
Yeah, that was very interesting. I don't know why. I feel like I could just burst into tears.
Yeah. I think strong sensation does that, right? It tickles those connections. And there's definitely some overlap in terms of when our brain gets overwhelmed. Literally, it tickles the partnering sensations, right? It's one of the reasons why orgasm can bring about tears, right? Strong tickling can bring about pain, right? Because the neurons are chemical reactions. So in some ways, it's a little bit of a prodding, right? Can you think about it in the terms of my kid has her sad song playlist. When she wants to really indulge in that emotion, she uses it as a bit of a trigger. The same is true with a strong asana practice. But same can be true with any strong sensation, that we can use it mindfully, just like we would use the opposite of numbing, right? To avoid something. Go to the other end and let it take us where our body is feeling most vulnerable, because we're tickling an edge. And then back off until we feel safe, and then again, tickle the edge. We flex those muscles of patience and perseverance and balance in the practice.